we're going to talk about the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Both are going to be looking at the same definition of economics, which is how we satisfy our unlimited wants through the use of our scarce resources. But with microeconomics, they're going to have a different focus than macroeconomics. Same principle of how we're going to do that, but the focus is different. All right, so for microeconomics, micro meaning smaller, we're going to look at a smaller scale. So we're going to be focusing on the actions of individual agents within an economy, like households, workers, businesses. There is some government involved in there, but again, it's much on a smaller scale. Some key terms that you'll see in microeconomics would be perfect competition, and that's really how businesses are interacting with each other. Think of perfect competition as like the exact same good. Like all businesses are selling the exact same good. So if they're selling the same good, what do you think the price would be? Well, the price should be the same for all of them because it's the exact same good. So what we'll look at with things like perfect competition are pricing decisions, how firms will either shut down or operate. We're looking at the smaller things on how they do. Public goods are how the government's involved. Think of parks, think of national parks, think of national defense. All these things that are provided by the government, those are public goods. These are, again, smaller scale because we're just looking at how individuals interact with the market. Okay. Also, with microeconomics, we're looking at your consumer choice. Okay. So you're trying to gain the most happiness out of something with your decisions. So that's going to be a much microeconomic topic. Macroeconomics is going to be taking a step back and looking at a much broad scale. It's the branch of economics that focuses on things like growth, unemployment, inflation, trade balance. Some key terms you're going to see here are monetary policy, fiscal policy. Those are really government actions that they will use in order to affect economic growth, lower unemployment, lower inflation. So macroeconomics, you're looking at how a country is ran. Microeconomics is looking at how businesses and how like cities are ran, how workers allocate between jobs. Macroeconomics is much more broad, and they're just trying to satisfy, well, how do we lower unemployment? How do we lower prices in general? Okay, so let's look at some examples here of what the difference would be. So the first one would be how people decide whether to work full-time or part-time. So to see how that's an individual person making a decision, that's a microeconomic topic. How a nation determines standard of living, that one, again, you're looking at how a nation is trying to grow itself. So it's a broader topic. So that one's going to be macro. The next one would be how much you save, right, for the future. So it's, again, your individual choice. So that's going to be micro. How many workers do we need to hire? So let's think about it. Is that a broader term in terms of a government solving unemployment, or is that a business deciding, hey, we need 5 workers tonight or 10 workers tonight? And this one really would be a micro one, okay? Because, again, it's like trying to figure out how a business is going to decide how many workers to hire. Not a nation, right, trying to solve unemployment in general for the entire country, but a micro topic here. What causes the economy to grow over the long term? So again, it's how the economy, the broader term, works. So macro. And then finally, what determines the price? What determines the price a firm will charge? Okay, again, it's an individual decision, right? So going back to that perfect competition example, if you are selling an identical good as the person next door, and you have to decide what price to charge, okay, more than likely you're going to want to charge the same price. Okay, if you're thinking, why don't they lower the price? Well, think about it this way. Your consumers are willing to pay the same price over there. So you might as well charge the same price here because that way you can gain more profit than you would if you sold a lower price. If you sold a lower price, you might be getting into your losses territory. But again, you'll dive more into that with microeconomics for sure. So this one would be a micro topic. The next thing would be talking about what economists do. So economists are people that come up with theories and models. They are experts on who study the relationship between a society's resources and its production or output. They are looking at how the economy is all connected, how areas here will affect areas here. One of the most influential economists of modern times was John Maynard Keynes, so we will be talking more about him. Keynes thought of economics as a way to teach you how to think, not just what to think. It's much better for you to think critically, so you could look at a situation, analyze it, and then make the best decision about it. Okay, you are learning basically, right? Could you imagine someone just telling you what to do and then you just do it? I mean, you're not really applying what you could benefit from that situation, right? Because think about it, like let's say you fail and then you don't learn from it and then you just fail again, right? The whole point of economics is teach you how to think so that way you can think critically and then you could adapt to situations. And this is going to be really good when things come up such as tariffs, right? Like by the end of this like economics, you would understand what tariffs are and how they can affect different areas, okay? And again, that's really what Keynes was trying to do. He was trying to teach you how to think, how the economy is ran, and not just like, hey, this is what it is, okay? So there's a much more benefit of knowing how things work, not just what they are. Another thing economists do comes up with theories. Their theories are just ideas on what should happen, okay? It's like, hey, I believe that having free and reduced school lunches is going to improve student scores, right? That's just an example of a theory. It's really a simplified representation of how two or more variables interact with each other, okay? So it's like taking a complex world issue and then simplifying it down to the essentials. I mean, think about it from an education standpoint and how complicated that is, right? There are so many factors that influence a student's test scores. But really what we're trying to do is just look at a certain situation, such as, hey, what if we gave them free lunch? What would that do? And so the theory is that if you do this for your lunch, should they have better scores, right? So what you'll do is you'll run it through a model, an applied representation of a theory. It's like coming up with an idea, running it through a series of tests, and then proving the idea is good. So to answer that question, yeah, having free reduced lunch does improve student scores. So they took the theory, and then they looked at different schools that had free lunch, schools that didn't, and by the end of the test and at the end of the model, they've determined that yes, it does improve student scores. Okay, so that's where economics comes into play. Of maybe that's something the government should look into. All right. What we're going to do next is look at how economies actually ran using the circular flow diagram. It's going to be interesting.